Welcome back to Yes, I'm Adopted, Don't Make It Weird. Today we are going to be discussing the topic of bullies and what you should do to them. Beat them up. That's right.
I was expecting and how to deal with them.
No, what you should do
what you should
to
do
them. To them. Not about them.
Okay, so before you rant, which I know you're about to.
Oh, man.
We're going to acknowledge something for a second here, which is that most bullies are a product of their environment, right? So, like, we've studied that. There's a lot of kids that are mean or pick on other kids or do these things or make fun of people or whatever because their home life is typically not very great. And that's something that we want to acknowledge before we start ranting about why they should stop. So there it is. That's a thing. We get it. If you have a bully, maybe give them a better home life. So they're not
Your child's a bully? It's your fault.
I mean, I'm just saying, a lot of times that's where it is. And we're not also going to talk about, because we could talk for an extensive amount of time about this whole new concept of cyberbullying, which is, I mean, we all know what that is because we're on the internet.
Right.
So we're not going to talk about that
We're
very much
victims of cyberbullying all the time.
All the time.
Mostly
So,
for you.
there you go. Disclaimers out of the way. We receive all the time different questions and different things, especially from parents, about just like, how do you deal with this because my kid gets picked on in school or whatever, which we totally did as kids, right? So like, we definitely remember those things coming up when we were elementary, middle school,
Yep.
because kids are kind of dumb and they're just going to say the first thing that usually pops in their head. And sometimes they're really mean about it. Okay. So there you go. Context, disclaimer.
Context. Bullies are the worst. You know how I know?
How?
Because I used to be one. Yeah, let's start there.
Okay.
So this is coming
right.
from firsthand experience, okay?
All right.
I used to be a punk of a child. And it's not so much that I was like a strict bully, but there were one or two kids that I would go out of my way to make their lives miserable.
Yeah.
In any capacity that I could. And if I did that, I felt like I won. And let me say this. Let me start out by saying, my parents were great.
Sure.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
It's not my parents' fault. This is all on me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to deal with my own internal things about who I was, the identity, and all this other stuff. And I remember specifically one kid pointed out something different in me, and that triggered everything, and that kid became my target. And that's when I started my bullying career.
There's a career involved.
I mean, you make some money doing it sometimes.
They give you a 401k and a health package? Like, how did that work?
Right. And I remember the devastating effects that I had on this poor soul. He wasn't a poor soul. Let's be real. We were bullying each other.
Sure.
And so, you know, I know from firsthand experience how to deal with a bully because I remember how people dealt with me.
How did they deal with you? How do they deal with you now? Like,
they cry a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
I do cry a lot, so there is that.
So let me go into a little bit of story here real quick with what it is that we received. So some of you saw the video that we put out, or I put out, just sitting in my car. I broke all the rules of video. Never do any of the things that I did on video if you're wanting to go into a career with video. But the message we received had to do with bullying, and it was rough. It's something that really hit home to me. Because again, like I've been on the receiving end of it and I've been on the giving end of it. And so I kind of know both sides and what's going on. And the kid that, you know, was the victim, she didn't ask for any of this stuff to happen. She didn't ask for, you know, to be different and in a different culture. She didn't ask to look different. All this stuff was because she was adopted from a different culture. And that was really rough to hear because she said, like, her mom said that she was dealing with, you know, her identity issues, which a lot of adoptees are constantly dealing with those identity issues. But she's 7. She's 7 years old and having to have all of this stuff come to light already, and trying to face your own identity, and why am I different, and then why am I here, and it just trails into the next thing after the next thing. And the effects of that are traumatic and devastating if you are not prepared to handle it. And as the parents, when your kid is that young, they go to you, or they don't go to anybody. They hide it.
Sure.
And that's kind of what I did as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I hid, when people would come up to me and either make racial slurs or anything when I was younger. I just hid it. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my parents. And that's when I started getting really angry. And that's when I actually started taking that anger out on other people.
Sure.
Who weren't adopted.
Right.
And that's probably why they were my targets. It is such a huge problem. And it doesn't go, like bullying is a huge issue all around the world.
Sure.
It's not just an adoption or anything like that. But specifically with adoptees, again, we are forced to face different parts of our identity that we are not ready to fully comprehend yet.
Right.
And a lot of that is in those younger ages. So as a parent, what can we do? What can they do in order to help their kid? Is there anything?
There's so much of that stuff that is it's unquantifiable, right? Like, because there's so much that's individualized. Like, there's a ton of stuff that gets said that I think my experience and your experience were probably very similar as far as what was said, but my response and your response were worlds apart, right? Because you get aggressive,
very,
and I get defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I just withdraw. Like, I don't really have time for this, and that's for the most part kind of served me pretty well as a person. It's not, as long as it doesn't stray into the land of just denial, straight up denial, which it has in the past.
Me too.
Right, but as opposed to just like, well, because this kid made me miserable, now I'm going to make somebody else miserable and take that.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? Like, the hierarchy of the schoolyard in general is something that I think we all forget as adults that is totally still prevalent.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, as kids, that's always going to be there. There's never any part of growing up within a educational system or any of that, like a social system as children, where a pecking order essentially is not established.
Right.
Can we just be honest about that? That, like, there's gonna be a top of the food chain and a lower part of the food within the educational system. It's just how it is. Every social system functions in that way. Right. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just means that that's how it is. Right. We talked about this before. Also, is that kids are inherently gonna find every difference.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And just point it out.
It's easy for them. It's like second nature.
Right? Because, like, even my kids are going to do that. And I've told this story several times before, but, like, I'm walking through. I took my kid to kindergarten one day, and he's just walking by the breakfast line or whatever. And this other kid gets, like, in his face and is just like, "Why are you brown?"
Just like that.
And I don't think it was a bullying thing. I think he genuinely was curious. Like, why are you... Nobody else here is... Like, what happened? What's going on? I don't think it was concern. I think it was just genuine, like, I don't know what's happening. But, my kid, we talked about that. We've prepared him for, like, you look different. Yep. So do I, right? You look at me and look at, everybody that we interact with on a daily basis. Like, this is, we're going to appear different. Yep. And his response was actually my response, which was, what's wrong with you? And then he just kept walking. Right? He's just like, what do you, as a kindergartner, that was my kid's response. And that would be my response today.
Right.
Right? It's just, what do you, I don't have time for this. Like,
and then just walk.
Here I go. I've got other things going on.
Right.
Right. But awareness as a parent,
yes,
is necessary.
It's huge.
Even just that. Right. I don't know how you're going to deal with this within your family or within your structure or whatever. But the one thing that you absolutely cannot do is pretend like it's not happening.
Please don't. Now, it probably. I don't want to say probably, because I don't want to put that fear in parents, right? Mm-hmm. But it could be happening, and your kid might just bottle it all up. Again, that's what I did. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to be a burden on my parents. I didn't want to stress them out, any more than they already were. And so I just kept it inside. I didn't talk to anybody about it. But the whole time it started festering and growing into something different. And if I didn't come face to face with that, I probably wouldn't be who I am today.
Hmm.
And a lot of that had to do with my parents, like sitting me down and getting to the root with a lot of the problems that I had. And after that is when I was able to start healing and starting to, actually forgive people and stop being such a jerk. Like, that was like last year. Still working on it.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. Huh. Go watch that episode, season 1. But I mean, it might be happening and your kid might just not want to say anything about it. So, and we've talked about this before, make sure your kid knows that there's an open door for communication. Like, that is a huge part of it. Make sure they know that you are available, that you are on their side, and that you are willing to just sit there and listen. It doesn't always come to, hey, we need to fix every problem. If my kid has a problem, I automatically want to fix it, right?
Sure.
But that's not necessarily the case. It's not always our place to fix their problems, but it is our place to listen to them and to make sure that they know that we're supporting them and that we love them and care for them. So making sure that your kid understands that, and then you don't know. Maybe they are being bullied. Maybe there is some, like racism or whatever it is going on, and people are just picking on them. They might talk to you about it, and then together you can make a plan on what needs to happen next. Whether it's, talking to somebody in authority or punching the bully in the face. Maybe not that one.
No.
But yes, that one.
Just don't get recorded, I guess.
Just that one.
You remember that thing that came out? Was it last year, a couple years ago, where the kid was getting picked on and he body slammed the kid?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
You're like, this isn't appropriate, but good for you.
Yeah. I mean, I cheered that kid on.
Right?
Not gonna lie.
We all
Not
did.
gonna lie.
Anybody that grew up a nerd, right, was just like, we were like, yes!
That's what I wanted to do as
Right?
a kid.
If I had been big enough to pull that off, I would have done that move too. Like, Anyway,
Yeah.
we're
But
not going in all that.
I mean, parents, again, just be aware that this is a problem. It might not be on, the forefront of your mind that it is an issue, and it may or may not be happening to your kid. We don't know. But just make sure that, there's an open door for communication so they don't turn out like me and just be bitter at everybody else around them and just start fighting them. Don't let your kid become me. It's
So
a very sad thing to
I
say.
guess there's that part too, is like, be aware if your kid is a bully.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would suck.
Whew.
Like, that would be so much easier to deny or live in denial about as a parent, I think, than that my kid is being bullied.
My parents called
Right?
me a bully. They knew.
I feel like somebody needs to talk to your parents. So, like that would be hard for me to acknowledge if my kid's being a jerk to other people's kids just because he can. But then I have to acknowledge, what are you going through? Like,
Right,
what
the
did I
hurt that's
miss?
there.
I
Yeah.
must have missed something for you to be acting in this way. What's
Right.
going on? But be aware of what's going on. I guess there's, as far as like the specifics of bullying and dealing with all that. Look, there's smarter people out there. So
Again,
go watch their TED Talk.
we like the ones of kids getting body slammed that are bullies.
So go watch
Don't ask us.
the smarter people.
And tell them to like, comment, share, and subscribe when you watch them.
You're so good at transitions.
Man,
now.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get there. Again, we just want to say thank you guys for joining us on today's episode. We have an amazing program that's going to be coming out soon. If you guys have not seen it already, we have a sign up that all you have to do is just sign up with your email. So if you guys just click the link in the description, it'll take you to another page where you can sign up for the 4-day course. We're going to be talking about what it means to raise a well-adjusted adult, and it's going to be more of the education side of things. And less of the banter, laughing, talking about kids getting body slammed type of things. So if that's your cup of tea, you guys should go and sign up for that.
If you like all the content that isn't
The show.
the vast majority of our show, then go watch the new style of content and see if that works for you. Maybe you like both.
Yeah.
We hope so.
So again, please, we lost the light. I guess it's time to end. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the weekend update. Cheers. For real, we lost the light.
Is there a ghost?
The ghost strikes again.